100 doctors failed to save the billionaire CEO, but a hospital cleaner changed his fate with just one touch of love. This isn't just a story of recovery. It's a story of love, faith, and the power of being seen by someone the world ignored. Blake Anderson was not just a man. He was an empire. At 35, he had achieved what most could only dream of in lifetimes. The towering glass headquarters of Anderson Tech stood in Manhattan like a monument to his genius. Stock markets moved at the sound of his name. Tech giants feared him. Governments consulted him. The world followed him. And yet, behind the steel watch and sharp suits, behind the private jets, the press conferences, the luxury cars, Blake was tired, lonely, disconnected. He had given everything to success, and it had taken everything back. On a stormy October evening, lightning lit up the sky as Blake stepped onto the stage at the Global Future Tech Summit. His speech was meant to inspire the world with a new vision of artificial intelligence. The crowd of thousands waited breathlessly. Cameras flashed. Applause erupted. But Blake only got through 3 sentences. Then his body swayed. His voice faltered. And before anyone could react, he collapsed. Gasps rippled through the audience. A woman screamed. Security rushed forward. Paramedics lifted his motionless body onto a stretcher as the room descended into chaos. Within an hour, headlines flooded the internet. Billionaire Blake Anderson suffers mysterious collapse. Is the tech king dead? Medical mystery shocks the world. He was taken to St. Joseph Elite Hospital, the finest in New York, where royalty and presidents received care. Blake was placed in a private suite, surrounded by cutting-edge machines and guarded by armed security. His chest rose and fell. Machines beeped rhythmically. But Blake, he didn't move. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. A silent stillness covered the room like a heavy curtain. The world didn't know it yet, but something inside Blake had snapped. Doctors flew in from all corners of the country, experts in neurology, cardiology, even rare toxin specialists. They checked for strokes, brain aneurysms, blood infections, viruses, poison. Every test came back clean. His organs were fine, his heart strong, his brain showed normal electrical activity, but he was unresponsive, as if his soul had quietly exited, leaving behind a healthy shell. Some called it locked-in syndrome. Others said catatonic trauma. But truthfully, none of the 100 top doctors had a clue. Day by day, his body remained the same, alive, but absent. Nurses whispered it was like he was sleeping with his eyes open. A beautiful machine. Shut down from within. Fans left flowers outside the hospital gates. News vans camped for a glimpse. The stock market crashed as his absence sent shockwaves through the tech world. And still, inside that quiet room, Blake lay alone, untouched by the noise outside. He had always been a man of control, but now he couldn't move a finger, couldn't open his mouth to scream, couldn't say the one thing he had never admitted out loud. I'm tired of being alone. The world was watching a king fall, and no one, not even the best minds on earth, could stop it. Until one night, when someone who wasn't a doctor walked into his room. Not with medicine, not with machines, but with something far more powerful. A heart that still believed in miracles. Hospitals in the middle of the night are not quiet. They breathe. They hum with life and pain. And while most people sleep, Mia Collins worked. She didn't wear a white coat. She didn't carry a stethoscope. But she knew these halls more intimately than most. Every creaky elevator, every light that flickered, every corner where grief hid quietly. At 25, Mia had already known more sorrow than most people twice her age. 2 years ago, in this very hospital, she had held her little brother's hand as he slipped away, a boy of just 12. The doctors had called it non-responsive. They gave up, moved on. But Mia never did. She had applied for the night cleaning job 6 months later, not for the money, but for the chance to stay close to people when they needed someone the most. Even if all she could offer was a mop, a quiet smile, and a silent prayer. Most staff barely noticed her. She moved like a shadow, graceful, quiet, and soft. With her curly brown hair tucked beneath a cap and her green eyes always watching, she blended into the background. But she noticed everything. She noticed how some patients clung to hope in their sleep, how some cried when they thought no one was watching, how some doctors spoke kindly and others never looked patients in the eye. And she noticed the man in room 507, Blake Anderson, the billionaire, the man the world was mourning, even though he hadn't died. His room was more like a luxury suite than an ICU. Sterile, perfect, polished. Mia had seen many VIPs before, but something about Blake drew her in. Not his money, not the headlines, but the strange, lonely energy that clung to his room like a ghost. Each night she cleaned quietly, careful not to disturb him. But she always paused at the end, looked at his face, and whispered, "I hope you're not alone in there." Then one night, everything changed. She was wiping down the windows when she saw it. A tiny flicker, his eyelids. Not once, not random, a flicker, like a signal. She froze. "Mr. Anderson?" she said softly, unsure why she was even speaking. No one else was in the room. The machines beeped quietly. The rain tapped at the window like a ticking clock. She stepped closer, heart thudding. "If you can hear me," she whispered, "blink once." Silence. Her breath caught in her chest. Then, blink. Slow, deliberate, clear. Her cleaning rag fell to the floor. She rushed to his side. "Again, please. Blink once if you can hear me." Blink. Tears filled her eyes. He was in there. Alive. Aware. Waiting. No doctor had seen it. No machine had caught it. But she had. Because she wasn't looking for symptoms. She was looking for someone. Her hands trembled as she gently touched his fingers. "I'm Mia," she said through tears. "And I promise you, I'm not going to let them give up on you like they gave up on my brother." That night, the cleaner walked out of room 507 forever changed. She wasn't just cleaning anymore. She was about to fight for a man the world had already buried. A man whose heart had just blinked back to life. Mia couldn't sleep for nights after that first blink. Her mind was spinning, her heart pounding. She had witnessed something no doctor, no specialist, no test had revealed. Blake Anderson, the untouchable billionaire, was still inside his broken silence, trying to reach the world. But who would believe her? She was just a cleaner. No degree, no badge, no voice in the medical world. The next night, she returned to room 507 with shaky hands, alone after hours when the hallway lights dimmed and the world quieted. She stood at his bedside, whispered, "It's me again." "Mia." She paused. "Blink once if you're still here." Blink. Her heart flooded with relief. Again and again, each night she came back, and every time, he blinked. On the second night, she added another question. "Blink twice if you want me to stay." Blink. Blink. Tears welled in her eyes. She stayed and kept talking. On the third night, she broke a rule. She slipped a small audio recorder into her pocket. It was old, scratched, and held together with tape. But it was the same recorder she had used to keep her brother company during his final days. A gift from him before he passed. She placed it gently on the table beside Blake. "Don't worry, it's just us," she whispered. "No one else needs to know." And she began to talk, not like a nurse, not like a stranger, but like someone who cared. She told him stories about her childhood, about how she used to sit in tree houses and pretend she could fly, about the time she danced barefoot in the rain because she couldn't afford a prom dress, about the books she loved, stories where underdogs changed the world, where broken hearts healed, and where love was stronger than pain. She read to him softly, fairy tales, poetry, novels that had comforted her when the world didn't. "Do you like this one?" she asked after reading a passage about a lonely king who found peace in the arms of a common girl. Blink. It broke her. He was listening, feeling, responding. And then something else happened. The more she spoke, the more she sensed something in Blake. Not just awareness, but emotion. A subtle tension in his brow when she spoke of pain. A slight flutter of breath when she laughed. It was as if his heart remembered what his body forgot. One night she sat down beside him and whispered, "Why won't you come back?" She stared at his silent face. Then she reached out and held his hand. It was warm, calloused, but somehow afraid. She didn't let go. And then she shared her truth. "The night my brother died, I begged them not to unplug him," she said, voice cracking. "I knew he was still there. I felt it, but no one listened to me." She looked at Blake. "I'm listening to you now." She told him about the guilt that ate her every day, how she'd wanted to save her brother but didn't have the power. And now with Blake, she had a second chance. "I know you're not just sick," she whispered. "I think you're trapped. I think something inside you shut down because it hurt too much to stay awake." Silence. Then for the first time, a tear slid down Blake Anderson's cheek. It glistened like glass in the soft light. One single, undeniable tear. Mia gasped and covered her mouth. She looked at him, truly looked, and what she saw wasn't a billionaire, a symbol, or a patient. It was a man, broken, lonely, craving warmth, just like her. She wiped the tear gently with her sleeve and whispered, "You're not alone. You matter. I see you." The machines continued to beep steadily, but something else was waking up. Not just in Blake, but in her too. Because for the first time in years, Mia wasn't grieving. She was hoping. And love, the pure, quiet kind, was growing where no one had thought to look. By sunrise, Mia hadn't slept a minute. Her body was tired, but her heart burned with something stronger than fear. Certainty. She had seen a tear fall. She had seen him blink, not once, but twice. She had felt the presence of a man still fighting. She couldn't stay silent anymore. She stormed into the medical wing, heart racing, adrenaline shaking her fingers. The smell of antiseptic filled the air. Sterile, cold. The kind of place where truth often got buried beneath protocols and pride. She approached the head physician, Dr. Gerard Manson, a man with decades of experience and the arrogance to match it. "Doctor, you need to listen to me," she said breathlessly. He didn't even look up. "You're not allowed in this section." "I don't care. Blake Anderson is responding." That got his attention. He looked at her over his glasses, amused. "Responding?" Mia nodded. "He blinked, multiple times. He cried. He hears me." He let out a small, humorless chuckle. "Miss Collins, we've done every neurological test known to man. He's non-responsive. His scans are flat. He's brain dead." Mia's chest tightened. Her fists clenched. "No, he's not," she insisted, voice rising with emotion. "He's in there. His brain isn't broken. His heart is. He's trapped inside himself. But he's alive. Please, just give me 10 minutes. Watch me. I'll prove it." Dr. Manson sighed. "You want me to risk protocol for a cleaner's gut feeling?" She looked him dead in the eye. "I want you to risk it for a man who's trying to come back." Silence filled the room. Other nurses and junior doctors paused, watching the exchange with wide eyes. Against his better judgment, maybe moved by her passion, maybe just curious, Dr. Manson finally nodded. 10 minutes. You mess up once, you're done. Understood?" Mia didn't wait to respond. She ran. When she entered Blake's room, it felt like the world had narrowed to just them. He was there, still, silent, but different. She could feel it in the air, like the electricity before a storm breaks. She sat beside him, gently took his hand, that same hand she had held in quiet darkness for days, and whispered, "We're not alone anymore, Blake. You've got people watching now, but don't be afraid. Just do what you did before." She leaned close, heartbeat thumping in her ears. "Blink twice, if you want to live." The air stood still. The machines hummed. Even Dr. Manson seemed to be holding his breath. Then, blink, blink. Two clear, steady blinks. Gas filled the room. One nurse dropped her clipboard. Dr. Manson stepped forward, stunned. Another doctor began checking the monitors frantically. Brain activity surged. "What the—" "His frontal cortex just lit up," one whispered. "This is impossible." But Mia didn't hear any of them. She was locked in his gaze. Those deep eyes that had seemed empty days ago now shimmered with the faintest light of hope. He was coming back, and he came back for her. From that moment on, everything changed. A special team was assigned to observe Blake daily. Mia was no longer just a cleaner. She was given special permission to be with him, to help stimulate cognitive response. She returned every night, reading more, talking more, holding his hand. He blinked more. His fingers twitched, and when the therapist placed a small light in front of his eyes, he followed it, tracking, thinking, fighting. By the end of the week, he moved his lips slightly. No sound came yet, but Mia saw it clearly. He was mouthing her name. Mia. Her knees nearly gave out. She leaned forward and whispered, voice trembling, "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." The man the world had given up on was returning, step by step. Not because of technology, not because of fame, not because of science, because one woman had believed in him when no one else did. And while Blake couldn't speak yet, the message in his eyes was clear. "You saved me." He was mouthing her name, Mia. Her knees nearly gave out. She leaned forward and whispered, voice trembling, "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." The man the world had given up on was returning, step by step. Not because of technology, not because of fame, not because of science, because one woman had believed in him when no one else did. And while Blake couldn't speak yet, the message in his eyes was clear. "You saved me." Recovery wasn't quick. It came in whispers, not waves. A twitch of a finger, a breath more steady, a gaze more focused. But through every step, Blake Anderson had one constant, Mia. She wasn't required to be by his side, but he asked for her every day. Doctors came and went, therapists rotated, but Mia stayed. She brought light into the darkest corners of his healing. She read to him, laughed with him, cried when he cried. She didn't treat him like a billionaire. She treated him like a man, a person worthy of love. The hospital took notice. She was offered a raise, a new badge, an honorary position in Blake's cognitive care team. She accepted the title politely, but in her heart, nothing changed. Mia didn't care about recognition. She didn't care that the man she cared for had once been on the cover of Forbes. She cared about him. The way his eyes softened when she entered. The way he tried to mouth her name even before he could speak. The way he listened, truly listened, when she opened her soul. Blake had spent years commanding rooms, building empires, making deals that shaped the world. But he had never known softness like Mia, never been held emotionally, never been loved without conditions. And now every moment with her made him question everything he thought he understood about success. "I spent my whole life building walls," he whispered one afternoon, his voice still raspy from disuse. "And you walked straight through them." Mia smiled. "Maybe your heart was tired of being alone." They shared meals by his bedside, quiet conversations at midnight, and gentle laughter in stolen moments. They weren't nurse and patient anymore, or cleaner and billionaire. They were something else now. Two people finding home in each other. He asked her about her past, her brother, her dreams, her heartbreak. She shared everything. He listened without judgment. She asked him about his childhood, the cold mansion, the loveless father, the pressure to be perfect. He answered without pride. They discovered they had both been abandoned in different ways. Both had built their lives out of pain, yet still chose to show up with love. And one evening, beneath the wide-open sky, they found each other in a new way. The hospital rooftop was quiet, the city humming far below them. String lights flickered softly as if the stars had come down to join them. Blake sat in a wheelchair, stronger now, wrapped in a gray wool blanket. Mia sat beside him, her hair loose for the first time, curls dancing in the breeze. He turned to her slowly, reaching out with trembling fingers. Not because he was weak, but because he wanted the moment to last forever. "Mia," he said, voice steady for the first time in weeks, "you saved my life, and you saved my heart." She gasped softly, tears instantly welling in her eyes. She looked at him, truly looked, into the eyes of a man once lost to the world, now returned to love, returned to her. "You saved mine too," she whispered. "We both needed each other more than we ever knew." There was no kiss yet, no promises, just fingers interlaced under the stars. Two broken souls stitched together by moments too powerful for words. And in that moment, the world outside disappeared. There was no hospital, no wealth, no past. Just Mia, just Blake, and a love that had bloomed in the unlikeliest of places, between the silence and the scars. 6 months had passed since the night Blake blinked twice and turned fate on its head. 6 months since a cleaner's gentle voice shattered the silence that doctors couldn't penetrate. 6 months. That changed everything. Blake Anderson was no longer just a man with power. He was a man with purpose. He had shed the armor of cold ambition. His company still thrived, yes, but he no longer measured success in profits or applause. Now he measured it in smiles, in quiet mornings, in handwritten notes from a woman with green eyes and a soul that had resurrected his own. Mia never once left his side, even when the media storm hit, even when executives questioned her presence. She remained, unwavering, loyal, full of grace. He called her his miracle, but she simply said, "You just needed someone to believe." And now as Blake turned 36, he had one plan, one secret, one moment he had dreamed of every day since that tear fell from his eye. The night she reached into his darkness and refused to let go. He had the rooftop of his penthouse transformed, not with extravagance, but with intention. Warm fairy lights draped across the trellis like fireflies. Candles flickered along the railing, casting soft glows over white roses. Mia's favorite. A string quartet played gently in the background, distant enough to let the stars speak too. Mia stepped onto the rooftop, her breath catching at the sight. She wore a simple navy blue dress, the same shade as the sky when it hugged the edge of night. Her hair was down, curls cascading around her shoulders, catching moonlight like they were woven with silver. Blake stood waiting for her. His suit was dark, crisp, but his eyes were soft, vulnerable, glowing. He took one step toward her, then another, and when they met in the middle, he took both her hands into his. "I used to come up here to escape the world," he began, "to stare at the sky and wonder if there was more to life than noise and numbers." Mia blinked, her throat tight. "But now," he continued, his voice trembling, "this rooftop holds the most important moment of my life." He sank down slowly onto one knee. The city skyline sparkled behind him, but her face was the only light he saw. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small velvet box. When he opened it, the diamond inside shimmered like stardust. Not massive, not flashy, but carved with care, custom cut with a rose gold vine around its edge. He looked up at her with misty eyes. "Mia Collins," he whispered, "you found me when I was lost. You saw me when I felt invisible. You loved me when I didn't even love myself." A tear slid down her cheek, but she didn't wipe it away. "I don't want a future where I wake up and you're not beside me. I don't want to spend another second wondering what if. So, will you be my partner in life, in love, and in everything to come?" Mia's knees nearly gave out. She laughed through the tears, covering her mouth with her hand. Then she dropped to her knees with him and threw her arms around his neck. "Yes," she breathed into his ear. "Yes, 1,000 times. Yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit like it had always belonged there. They kissed, slow and certain, under the watchful stars. The city hummed around them, a quiet chorus of traffic and wind. But in their hearts it was silent, because love, real love, doesn't need an audience. Just two hearts willing to stay. They married in a small garden not far from the hospital where their story began. No press, no limos, no gold-plated anything. Just people who had witnessed the miracle of two broken souls healing each other. Blake and Mia turned their story into a legacy. They launched the Anderson Collins Foundation, providing care for patients in emotional trauma, especially those the world had forgotten. Mia never wore designer gowns. She still read books aloud to strangers in hospital beds. She still stopped to smile at janitors, interns, and people no one else noticed. Because she knew. She knew the power of unseen hearts. And Blake? He never let go of her hand again. And when people asked him, in interviews and speeches and memoirs, what had saved his life, the man once known as the most brilliant mind in tech didn't hesitate. He didn't credit the doctors. He didn't mention the therapy. He didn't name the machines. He simply smiled and said, it was love. Simple, stubborn, life-changing love. In a world that often judges people by their titles, their bank accounts, or their social status, this story reminds us that the human heart doesn't care about any of that. It sees kindness. It feels connection. And sometimes the most extraordinary love is born in the most unexpected places. She was a cleaner. He was a billionaire. But what truly saved him wasn't money or medicine. It was love. Simple, patient, real. Let this be a reminder. Never underestimate someone because of where they come from. They just might be the one to change your life. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, love sees no status, only souls.